My name is Brenda, and this is History Coles Notes. So let's get started. So today I have a poem for you guys. Now I wish I had a Shakespeare skull to make this a little bit more entertaining, but I don't, so I'm going to make do. All right, here we go. In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. He had 3 ships that left from Spain. He sailed through sunshine, wind, and rain. He sailed by night. He sailed by day. He used the stars to find his way. A compass also helped him know how to find the way to go. 90 sailors were on board. Some men worked while others snored. Now that's just a poem that school-age children have been taught to remind them who actually discovered America and when. But is the poem true? Well, the answer to that is, it's complicated. The true story of the exploration of the United States goes back way further than Columbus, and modern research suggests that him discovering America before other Europeans is simply not the case. It's commonly believed today that a group of Icelandic Norse explorers led by LEIF Eriksson beat Columbus to the Americas by about 500 years. With all of this said, it doesn't mean our friend LEIF was the first explorer who discovered America either. Scholars have theorized for years that people from Asia, Africa, and people from ice-aged Europe actually made it to US soil well before LEIF arrived. There's even a legend about a group of Irish monks who made it there in the 6th century. Nevertheless, Columbus remains one of the most well-known explorers of his day, so much so that he got his own holiday, but in recent years, his discovery has come under a lot of scrutiny due to his cruelty towards the indigenous cultures that he came in contact with. So let's break down the current theories, shall we? Scientists have proven during the last ice age that people traveled across an ancient land bridge that connected modern-day Russia to Alaska. Known as the Bering Land Bridge, it's currently underwater, but it wasn't 16,000 to 30,000 years ago. With this time frame, it gave people a lot of time to explore. When these people crossed the bridge for sure remains unknown. But current-day genetic studies show that the first humans who crossed that bridge became genetically isolated away from their counterparts in Asia about 20 to 25,000 years ago. Archaeological evidence shows that humans reached the Yukon about 14,000 years ago, but carbon dating done on items found suggests they could have been living there in the time frame that matches with genetic testing. And you know what else DNA has shown us? It suggests that the first indigenous people who lived in Canada and the US are directly connected to these people. They are, in fact, the genetic ancestors of approximately 80% of the indigenous population throughout the continent. After the indigenous people discovered their lands, they made it their home, but this didn't stop other people from showing up. Nearly 500 years before the birth of Columbus came a band of sailors who left their homelands looking for a new world in their Viking ship. After traveling through unknown waters under treacherous conditions, these men dropped anchor on a new land they found. These men may be the first European feet to touch North American soil. They were led by LEIF Eriksson, whose father, Erik the Red, founded the first European settlement of Greenland after he got the boot from Iceland after he killed his neighbor. LEIF is thought to have been born in Iceland, but he spent his formative years with his father in Greenland. Now, in about AD 1000, LEIF and his friends sailed to Norway, and when there, King Olaf I converted him to Christianity. He also gave him the job to convert Greenland pagan settlements from where he came from to be very good little Christians. He was able to convert his mom, but not his dad, before he continued his travels to share his new faith. Now, according to the saga of Erik the Red, LEIF crossed the Atlantic by accident after he sailed off course coming home from Norway. But according to the saga of the Greenlanders, Erik's trip was not an accident. He had heard of a strange land to the west after an Icelandic trader who allegedly accidentally missed the turnoff to Greenland sailed to North America, where he did not step off his boat. That's where LEIF supposedly bought this trader ship, put together a crew of 35 men, and followed the trader's route in reverse to end up in Newfoundland, which is part of present-day Canada. After coming to Canadian shores, LEIF gave his new discovery a name that he thought that really described what he saw: Helgeland, which is Old Norse for stone slab land. It is believed that this location is the current-day Baffin Island, which if you've ever been there, name makes a whole lot of sense. Now the crew decided to explore, and they moved down to a timber-rich location they called Markland, which means forest land. This is believed to be modern-day Labrador. So they hung out there for the winter, and they explored the region, which was full of lush fields and bountiful game. After LEIF returned home to tell everybody what he found, he was never able to return. Why? Well, his dad passed away, and LEIF then succeeded his father as chief of Greenland. But it doesn't mean the Vikings didn't come back. They continued back to the land that they named Vinland, aka Wineland, for at least another decade for resources. Why the name Vinland? It was due to LEIF finding wild grapes that were bountiful and sweet enough to make them wine. Now, before you think all these sagas are just stories, archaeologists have unearthed evidence to support the sagas tales of the Norse expeditions to America. One of the best examples of this is that in 1960, a Norwegian explorer scoured the coasts of Labrador and Newfoundland looking for any sign of a settlement, and he found it at the northern tip of Newfoundland. When this site was excavated, artifacts of Viking origin dating back to AD 1000 and the remains of a village was found. This area is now a World Heritage Site. So how did Columbus get tied up in all this? Well, many historians say that his arrival in the Americas in 1492 started the colonial period. But was he in the Americas? Although Columbus believed that he first discovered the West Indies originally, he actually was in the Bahamas. From there, he went to Cuba, Haiti, and the Dominican Republic. But while he was there, he still believed he was in Asia. He had his men build a fort, and then he left 39 of his men behind to collect gold and wait for the next Spanish ship to show up. But before he left, he kidnapped 10 indigenous people. He thought he could just train them to be interpreters or he can use them as exhibits in court, but before he got back, one of them already died. According to popular belief, there is no evidence that Columbus has ever actually set his feet on mainland North America. So when Columbus got back to Spain, he was treated like the hero that he thought he was. The crown said, "Hey, keep exploring," so he did. He returned to the Western Hemisphere 3 more times, where it said, through these expeditions, Columbus's people stole from the indigenous people, abducted indigenous women to do, well, whatever they wanted with, and they kidnapped the males to be their slaves in Spain. As the Spanish colonists started to increase, the indigenous population started to decrease due to the diseases that the Spanish brought with them and the forced labor that the settlers made them do in the fields. If the indigenous population resisted in any way, they were killed by the Spaniards or they were sent to Spain as slaves. But, as I mentioned before, Columbus and LEIF are not the only legends out there concerning the discovery of the Americas. Historian Gavin Mendez has made claims that a Chinese fleet, led by a man named Admiral ZHENG, reached western shores in 1421. Now, Gavin's evidence is a map that's allegedly from 1418, but this theory remains controversial. Another controversial claim alleges that a 6th century Irish monk named Saint Brendan actually found the Americas around 500 AD. Known for establishing churches around Britain and Ireland, it's said that this saint set out with a very primitive ship to North America. The only proof of this is a Latin book from the 9th century, which was clearly written well after the events. Now, you guys remember I said this was complicated? Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell so you can join us for more History Coles Notes. Be sure to check out all the other amazing content that we have here on the Horrifying History channel, and be sure to follow us on social media. It's there that you'll be the very first to hear about what's coming up in the Horrifying History universe, and you can interact with a bunch of history nerds just like me. You can find our links to our social media in the show notes. Thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time.